Have you ever wondered why some people always seem to get what they want in a negotiation? It's almost like they have a secret trick, a special power. Well, what you might not know is that these tricks aren't so secret after all. In fact, they are skills that anyone can learn, and when applied correctly, they can completely transform how you handle everyday negotiations. Whether it's asking for a raise at work, negotiating a discount, or even resolving a conflict at home, knowing how to negotiate can be the key to achieving much more in life. And who better to teach us these tricks than Chris Voss, a former FBI negotiator who dealt with some of the most extreme situations on the planet, such as kidnappings and hostage crises. Voss spent years in the field, where life or death literally depended on his negotiation skills. So, what exactly can we learn from Chris Voss? Let's explore some of the secrets he uses to turn any negotiation into a success. The power of tactical empathy. Imagine this. You're in an argument with someone who simply doesn't want to listen to you. It seems like no matter what you say, nothing will convince them to change their mind. Most people in this situation end up trying to be more persuasive, throwing more arguments on the table, but that only makes things worse. The truth is that often, the key to a good negotiation is not speaking more, but listening better. And this is where the concept of tactical empathy comes in. Chris Voss asserts that to be a good negotiator, you need to deeply understand what the other person is feeling, not just what they're saying. This goes far beyond agreeing with them or being sympathetic. It's about validating their feelings. When you acknowledge the other side's emotions, you create an environment where the other person feels understood and more willing to cooperate. It's almost as if you disarm their resistance. One of Voss's favorite methods for practicing tactical empathy is the mirroring technique. And no, it's not that classic mirroring we've learned from body language books, where you imitate gestures and posture. It's something simpler and more powerful, repeating the person's last words. For example, if your boss says, "I don't think we can increase your salary right now because the company is cutting costs," you could respond with, "Cutting costs?" By repeating the last part of what they said, you show that you're truly listening and invite the other person to continue explaining, creating a bridge of understanding. This mirroring makes the person feel heard, and people who feel heard become more open to negotiation. Think about it. How many times have you gotten angry in an argument simply because you felt the other side wasn't really listening to you? That's the power of truly listening, and it's crucial in any type of negotiation. Don't be afraid of no in a negotiation. It's common for us to avoid hearing no at all costs. There's this idea that hearing a no means failure, that the negotiation is over. But according to Chris Voss, that's a myth. In fact, no can be your best friend in a difficult conversation. It sounds counterintuitive, right? But the explanation makes a lot of sense. Voss explains that when a person says no, they feel they have control of the situation. They no longer feel pressured, and this creates an opening for a more honest and less defensive dialogue. If you ask, "Are you willing to close this deal today?" the other person might feel pressured and give a vague or uncomfortable answer just to avoid conflict. But if you rephrase the question to something like, "Are you against closing this deal today?" the no answer might come with a sense of relief, and the person may start to open up more about their real concerns. It's a way of reducing tension. When you remove the fear of hearing a no, the negotiation becomes much more fluid, and you can better understand the other side's motivations. Voss calls this pressure-free negotiation, and it's one of the techniques he considers most effective, both in business negotiations and in high-tension situations. Labels. Name what you see. Another powerful technique that Voss uses is what he calls labeling. Essentially, it involves placing a label on the emotions or intentions you perceive in the other person. It's like describing what's happening in the conversation in an objective, but empathetic, way. For example, if you're negotiating with someone who seems frustrated, you might say something like, "It seems like you're frustrated with the situation." The interesting thing about this technique is that by labeling the other person's emotions, you validate their feelings and encourage them to talk more about what they're experiencing. This not only creates a stronger connection but also gives you more information to understand what's really at stake in the negotiation. Labeling works because people generally have difficulty naming and expressing their own emotions. When you do it for them, they feel relieved, as if they can finally get something off their chest. And most importantly, it builds trust. And trust is everything in a negotiation. The power of silence. Now, a valuable tip that many people forget to use: silence. Most of us feel uncomfortable with silence in a conversation. Right after a pause, we feel the urge to fill the space with words. But in a negotiation, silence can be a very powerful weapon. Chris Voss suggests that when you ask a question or present a proposal, it's essential to stay silent and let the other person process it. This silence creates psychological pressure on the other side, making them feel the need to respond. More importantly, silence allows the other person to reveal information that they might not have shared if you kept talking. The secret is to get comfortable with discomfort. When you master silence, you can control the pace of the negotiation and give the other person the necessary space to reflect. And it's in this space that their true intentions and concerns arise. Calibrated questions. These are open-ended questions, phrased in a way that encourages the other person to think and offer more details without you needing to push them directly. Instead of asking questions that can be answered with a simple yes or no, like, "Can you lower the price?" you could ask something like, "How do you expect me to accept this price given our limitations?" Such questions make the other person stop and think, reconsidering their position. More than that, they put the person in a position to solve the problem alongside you, instead of just defending their initial stance. Calibrated questions are a subtle way to guide the conversation in the direction you want, without seeming pushy. It's almost like planting a seed in the other person's mind and waiting for it to grow. Use the anchoring effect to your advantage. Finally, one of the classic techniques that never goes out of style is the anchoring effect. This is the idea that the first offer made in a negotiation has a huge impact on all subsequent offers. If you make a very low or very high offer, the other person will use that anchor to base their counteroffers on. Chris Voss teaches that you should always try to make the other person give the first offer. This gives you an idea of where their mind is and how they're evaluating the situation. But if you need to speak first, make sure your anchor is strategic and leaves you room for negotiation. Mastering these techniques from Chris Voss won't turn you into an FBI negotiator overnight, but it will give you a powerful arsenal of tools that can be applied in any situation. Whether in a work environment, a conversation with a friend, or even in more complex negotiations, these skills will help you have more control over the course of the conversation and eventually achieve what you want. And remember, negotiation isn't about winning or losing. At the end of the day, the best negotiations are those where both sides feel they've gained something. If you're committed to your personal development and want to keep evolving and leveling up, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Here, I always bring practical and powerful content to help you keep growing. And if this video helped you in any way, make sure to leave a like so that more people can be impacted as well. In the description, you'll find links to books that I've carefully selected, works that can completely transform the way you think and act. It's definitely worth checking out. And don't leave just yet. Take a look at the suggested videos here on the screen. They will help you even more on your personal development journey. See you there.